Afghanistan is now America's longest war. Today, June 7, 2010, completes its 104th month. Just narrowly this month, beating out the Vietnam War, which lasted 103 months. So, what's next for the war-torn nation, and what will U.S. policy towards Afghanistan be moving forward? With Jake Diliberto of Veterans for Rethinking Afghanistan joins me today for more details. He's also a former Afghan vet himself. Jake, you hear people say in the very beginning that there was this sense of optimism, but then the Taliban was able to somehow regroup. Afghanistan is now America's longest war. So what went wrong here, in the sense that, back in October of 2001, I don't think many people thought it would be the way it is today, that American troops would still be there in the numbers they are?
Well, what happened in 2001 is the Bush administration took its eye off the ball. And went after, started to go after Iraq in 2003 and forced all of our troops over there. Meanwhile, the American population sort of was forced to ignore what was going on in Afghanistan, where real problems were at, where real terrorist activity was at. And for 7 years, essentially, we just forgot about Afghanistan until the Obama administration decided to take that as his battle. The big failure of the Obama administration was those that we've been overstretched. Our military is overstretched because of Iraq. We have an economic calamity that's taking place in the United States, so we don't have the money to sort of fund these wars. And in the midst of it all, the U.S. military is exhausted because of 7 years of open-ended war between Iraq and Afghanistan, and going back 9 years then with Afghanistan included. So really what happened was we took our eye off the ball, and really what happened was that the Bush administration and the Obama administration is failing the U.S. troops.
Well, most people agree that, yes, the war has gone on too long, but, there's definitely a lot of back and forth about whether or not it's time to end it. Obama says he wants to pull out troops by July 2011. Is he going to win this argument, though, given all the circumstances surrounding this complicated issue, this complicated country, really?
Yeah, no, Dina. The Obama administration is not going to be able to pull the troops up by 2011. He's not going to be able to do what he says he wants to, and the reason is because the media and the United States has totally forgotten about it, and the Pentagon's going to get their way. The Pentagon and the military-industrial complex is going to push that arm, push that lever inside the Obama White House, and in 2011 we're going to see a surge more of troops. That's my prediction. The reason is because the Obama administration has to present that it's strong on foreign policy. It has to present that, because otherwise his domestic agenda is going to get cut short. And it's a really sad situation, because there's plenty of people here in the United States that are conservatives like me that say the war's bad, and there's plenty of people that are liberals, like some of the folks I work with. And you know what? We all recognize that this policy, this war, is a terrible, terrible idea.
You said it's not really covered by the mainstream media here in the United States. Why do you think that is? Is it a case where the American public really is not that interested in this issue? I mean, what could it be here?
Yeah, that's right. It's not a sexy story. It's not going to. We passed 1,000 U.S. soldiers died just a few weeks back, and almost $1 trillion. We went past $1 trillion, and the mainstream media didn't pick it up. And one of the reasons that they didn't was because it doesn't sell. It doesn't give good ratings.
Well, what's the difference then between that and Iraq when it comes to being a sexy story and selling? Well, why not?
Well, the difference is. Yeah, well, the difference is Iraq. You had the Bush administration that was in Iraq, and it was easy to pick on. It was easier for liberals to pick on the sort of empire campaign that the Cheney and Bush administration was on. But today, we've got a liberal in office, President Obama, and the right-wing people are happy he's there, and the liberals have given up hope. So nobody cares. Nobody wants to talk about it.
Well, we're talking about it here on RT, Jake. But, over the years, we've heard a lot of comparisons to Vietnam. Is it fair, though, to compare Afghanistan to Vietnam? And if so, what are some of the similarities and also the main differences between these two wars?
Yeah, actually, I want to congratulate RT. I'm really proud of the staff over there for picking up the story and covering it as well as they have. And the similarities between Vietnam and Afghanistan are strikingly similar. And one of the big similarities, the difference is that we don't have as many deaths. And the reason is because we have a professional army that's much more skilled to do the tasks, and also because we have twice the amount of civilian private contractors waging the war in Afghanistan. But the difference is, so that's the difference. But the striking similarity similarities is the cost, the economic and the social cost at the end of this war. And then the other problem that we're going to face when we're done waging this war in Afghanistan is the rise of violent Islamic radicalism that's taking place in Afghanistan and Pakistan. Our everyday presence there exacerbates that. It makes that worse. And just like in Vietnam, where the longer we stayed in southern Vietnam, the more that the local population didn't like us. It's not a military failure. It's a political failure. That's the nightmare we're dealing with.
Jake, you know, you mentioned something interesting. You mentioned cost. Given the economic situation here in the U.S., can America afford this war? That's another issue that we tend to cover or tend to look at when we look at the war in Afghanistan. Can America afford it?
No, we can't. Actually, I consider this war in Afghanistan very similar to the oil crisis that's taking place in the Gulf right now. The oil crisis, it was something slow that happened not instantaneously, but it slowly happened, and then all of a sudden when it erupted, we had a giant nightmare. And that's the same thing, that economic calamity, nightmare crisis that's going to happen as a result of the open-ended global war on terror. Sooner or later, the chickens are going to come home to roost, and sooner or later, the American population and the Pentagon and the White House are going to figure out that we can't afford it, and we're going to be stuck over there, and it's going to break our back. It's going to break our bank, and the American economic strength it's already in the decline, but it will certainly plummet when that happens.
Jake DiLiberto of Veterans for Rethinking Afghanistan. Always good to have your analysis. Also good to see you there in our new LA studio. Thanks, Jake.